So, good morning, everybody. Just to say that I'm here with Adrian Marsh, who is in fact the Grand Secretary of the United Grand Lodge of England. And of course, I'm very grateful that you have agreed to come and have a chat with us. It is quite interesting because Adrian and I, you might not know this, because we are the same age, if not, I'm slightly younger, even if I don't look it, which is a bit irritating. Marginally younger, but obviously I look older. But of course, you and I grew up in a different era to most people. Obviously, we were around the 70s. As I've said to Adrian earlier, I rode around Hertfordshire when the lights were, until the lights went dark, came on a big chopper, a Riley chopper, I should say that. You actually had a rally chopper, and you had
I had a Tomahawk for a while, but then a racing bike.
So I stuck to
your chopper.
You would have done. I had to stick to what was easy for me. I could never cope with those too many gears. And of course, because we grew up in an era before the internet, before social media. So out and about as we were. That has actually made, we were in again this era, which some people knock. I don't think it is. I would say that we were taught to, I say, suck it up, buttercup, as it were. Mm-hmm. How do you feel now in your role that you have to deal with people of a different generation who are not as resilient sometimes?
Look, I think every generation is different. I mean, you speak to the veterans of the Great War, and they'll say that the veterans of the Second World War didn't have any resilience. Yeah, through generation, the generation before will always have that issue. So I think it's a question of how you adapt. I mean, I can think even my parents' generation, you would say by modern standards were Victorianly strict.
Yes, that is true.
Again, probably from their generation, they were very liberal in their opinion. So everything is horses for course in its context. I think it is difficult now on situations where there's a very rapid response. So someone can say something which they didn't mean and it was unintended or whatever, and there's huge offences taken very quickly, and you get, I see it in Freemasonry, you then get suddenly there's a sort of a massive opinion forming, which actually, could just be dealt with a quiet chat, a coffee, a beer, a handshake.
Or indeed, it's people explaining things. Now, I know that I'm somebody who is very much, less logical, more emotional on occasion. Mm-hmm. You've had to give me several bits of news, which I then fly off and go, well, like that, and then you remain calm. Mm-hmm. And actually then explain it through. I mean, are there times when you want to sort of like shake somebody or just...
No, I've never valued people who lose control or get over emotional in a work context. In that sort of context, I think it's actually much better to be calm, to be, there's never going to be too big an issue that you can't work.
Oh no, I agree. I mean, mine's usually more of a flounce than a sort of fury, but it's there. But what is interesting is that, recently you have been at the face of Freemasonry over that nonsense from the Met Police. Obviously, I was watching, and of course, I was quite irritated because you seem to have to deal with what I would personally call sheer stupidity in some of the attitudes, or not of the presenters, but some of the other guests. There's one I was actually calling out at the television, which is ridiculous to do, but you managed to stay calm on that. Is that, do you think you got the point across, or was it just a wasted time with someone?
No, I think any opportunity to put the right facts across is really important, and the issue you have is there's still there's a lot of idiocy written about us. There's a lot of misinformation. Frankly, people don't understand us, and I think that is what it is, right? And it's up for us to change that, and the only way we can change it is by a controlled, sensible dialogue, and actually being open and being transparent, and we have nothing to hide.
Yes, and of course, which we are. Some people might say that loses the mystique to a degree. But then again, if the mystique always went against us, I don't think it possibly...
I would say the mystique to me is in the language. It's in the friendships that you form and the bonds that you create. it's not about you disappearing with a briefcase. Where's he going? Who knows? It's I think people should be very open about
No,
it.
no, listen, I totally agree with you. I think that the secrets that I would think of Freemasonry are not what the public have always assumed. I think it's the fact that you actually make friends that you would never have come across before,
Yeah.
and share experiences of good fun.
Yeah, and I think you talked about the modern era and social networks across the internet or over apps or your phone or whatever. But Freemasonry is a social network where you actually have to meet people and you have to sit in the same room and you have to get on.
Oh yeah, and I'm not knocking the modern era. We're at the very moment we're actually here talking to you on a YouTube. Well, it's going to be the YouTube, which obviously back in the day never would be. And on to that, obviously we're in festival in Hertfordshire, and of course, although your office you could say is up in London, you are not only a London Mason, but you're also a Hertfordshire Mason. The charity festivals, when we first became Masons, I know you've got a few more years of Masonry on me there. It was a different thing when festival came around. How obviously not only we've got the climate going against us, but because of the fact that we're embracing all this on the membership drives, the mentoring drives like that, how do you see that the charity is able to compete in this day and age?
I don't think it's a question of competing, Brian. I think the charity has always been a huge part of what we do. It sits right at the heart and centre of what we do. I think the difference between, say, 30 years ago to today was 30 years ago, there are very few engagement opportunities. So you'd have a festival launch, you'd have festival events, and they might be the only opportunities you got to meet many other Masons other than in your lodge. Whereas I think we're now, if I go to Halsey Hall, I see people going to all the various companion orders. I see people out multiple times a week on Masonic activities. So I think it's lost a little bit of that sort of uniqueness of an opportunity of collaboration. However, I think if you talk to anyone, it's such a huge part of what we do.
Yes, and which I'm hoping for, of course. Which is right, and of course, it is building momentum, and this is good. Obviously, we've not only got the festival, but we've got the new centenary fund coming up.
Yeah.
That is actually for everybody to start off with, but it's a 10-year cycle.
Yeah.
And they appreciate that some of us are in festivals, some of us are in festivals. So it's up to us as a province we don't have to run at everything, do we?
No. Sir Michael Snyder was very clear when he announced it that it's a 10-year project, 10-year programme to raise the funds, which will be available for across the Constitution for enhancing and maintaining our Masonic buildings, which in some instances are more than 100 years old now. Yeah. And so it's hugely important. But it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It certainly shouldn't be conflicting with a festival. That's never been the intention. However, it does give lodges, individual members and provinces the opportunity to really participate in something that's huge. That last was done 100 years ago with the £1 million appeal then, which was to build Freemasons Hall, which, if you think about it, was at the height of the Great Depression, just after the First World War, and we raised £1 million, which in today's money is about 100 million today.
Yes, and of course that is something that when we're in the present, we forget what the past can be. I always moan about people about telling them that I got grossly overcharged for a cheese sandwich in Milan Airport in 1984. Which was £8, which anyone who works on the equivalent now would say it's probably like a £40.
So how many lira was it?
Well, I have no idea what it was at the time. When I converted it to £8, I nearly fainted because I just paid it over. That's what happens in the back of the day when your Dan Air flight is written. Was
it'd been about 16,000 lira.
See, that was my first trip abroad as well. Anyway, getting us back. You're obviously. Have taken the buildings with interest because you've actually embraced Halsey Hall, Watford, which is now, as you say, is 100 years old, and you've actually now, as chairman of there, do you find the challenges of trying to, because obviously Halsey Hall, it's there, it's running, but you've come in to in a world that we've got all regulations and things like that. Are you enjoying the challenge, or is it?
Of Halsey, I think no Halsey. I mean, like any of our Masonic halls around the country, it's such a huge important community asset that we've got, and I think we owe it to the people who collaborated to build it 100 years ago to give it another 100 years. So yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think for us who live in Hertfordshire, I'm just down the road from Halsey, as you know. I think I'm delighted that everyone wants to get involved. Well, not everyone, but lots of people want to get involved in it. And I think when you see the activities outside of Freemasonry that go on there, whether it's the getting together club with old age pensioners, whether it's blood donors, whether it's church groups, whether it's training events, it's a massively important building now.
Yes, it seems as though it's really getting stepping up into the community. What is interesting to me, though, because obviously it's always been my mother's centre, is where I started, is that I'm always bemused by the fact that a lot of fellow Masons always moan about the parking. Even though we obviously had lost our parking through compulsory purchase, and we actually had an ordinary car park, NCP car park down the road. And I think to myself, people come up to Great Queen Street, there's no real parking there either.
No, I mean, I think nowadays, these buildings that are in the city centre, the likelihood of having standalone parking, I mean, it would be a waste of space. Yeah. So, I mean, we've got a massive gated car park right next door to it.
Yes, we've got another one just across the road as well. We're right on top of the station. So we do have obviously, I'm plugging the horn now, it does have its benefits. Finally, obviously, I'm very grateful that you've agreed to have a chat with me. Is there, and I know that probably you get an awful lot of people making requests. You've actually decided to bite the bullet somewhat, I take it, at Halsey Hall, and there is an audience with you.
Oh, yes. So I've done this in a number of different provinces, and I thought it'd be quite nice to do it for the festival, so as a fundraiser. And it's just an opportunity for anyone to ask whatever they want, and the ones we've done before, you get a whole cross section of questions. I'll be very open about what we're doing at UGLE, where we are with the strategy. I'm particularly interested if anyone's got any concerns or any ideas or suggestions. It's not a one-way process. For me, it's as much as anything finding out from Masons in Hertfordshire what they're thinking at the moment.
Right. Well, curry as well, and I think it's £20.
Okay.
All the proceeds, or the I should say, not the proceeds, all the profit will go to the festival. That's right. Obviously, I can't expect them to actually provide the curry for free, as it were. Anyway, Adrian, thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian.
That's very kind of you. Right, you'll see me, and this will be uploaded, and I hope you'll enjoy it.